there, deep divers. Are you ready for some PHP and MySQL?
Always.
Today we're diving into updating records in a database
Yeah.
using PHP PDO,
Right.
the kind of stuff that makes a programmer's heart sing,
It's everywhere.
but also keeps you on your toes when it comes to security.
Yeah, if you're not careful, you can really mess things up.
For real.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to wake up one day and discover their entire customer database has gone missing.
It's the worst.
It's like accidentally deleting your My Documents folder.
Oh,
Except with a database.
Yeah.
It's way more serious.
absolutely. It's the bread and butter of any web application, changing passwords, updating profiles, all of that.
Right.
But we're not just going to gloss over the basics.
Okay.
We're going to dig into what makes this process truly secure and why that's so important.
Security is key.
It really is.
So let's talk about PDO,
Okay.
which stands for PHP Data Objects.
Right.
You can think of it as a language translator for your PHP code,
Okay.
allowing it to communicate with all kinds of databases like MySQL in a smooth and consistent way.
Exactly. It's like having a universal connector.
Okay, I'm getting the picture. It's like a universal language that lets your website have a proper conversation with its data storage,
Right.
instead of just shouting random commands into the void.
Exactly.
But why is PDO such a big deal?
The real power of PDO is in the area of security.
Okay.
You see, one of the biggest risks with databases is something called SQL injection.
Okay.
That's when a malicious user tries to slip code into your system.
Oh, no.
That could do some serious damage to your data.
That sounds absolutely terrifying. Like a digital virus that could rewrite the whole system.
Well, it's not quite a virus, but it can cause some major headaches.
Right.
Luckily, PDO gives you a way to defend yourself against this.
Okay.
That's where parameterized queries come in.
Right.
In essence, PDO helps you separate the actual SQL query from the data you're working with.
Okay.
This way, any malicious code injected into your database gets treated like just another bit of data.
So it's harmless.
Completely harmless.
Wow.
Yeah.
So PDO is like a security guard for your database?
Yes.
Checking IDs and making sure no unauthorized code gets through?
That's a great way to think about it.
Pretty smart, right?
Precisely. And it's a key part of building a robust and secure web application.
For sure.
Now let's get into an actual example.
I'm ready. Our source provides a great scenario updating a student database. Okay, so we've got our student database with all the usual stuff. Names, classes, grades. Right. What really caught my eye in the source material was this two-step process they lay out for updating a record.
Yeah, it's all about creating a smooth user experience while keeping things secure.
Right.
First, you fetch the existing data for the record you want to update.
Okay.
This lets you pre-populate the form for the user.
Makes sense. It'd be super frustrating to have to re-enter all your details just to change your email address or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And from a security perspective, it minimizes the potential for errors.
Okay.
The user only needs to change what's necessary.
Okay.
And that's where the actual update comes in.
Right.
But the source material also mentions something called a quick update. And it got me wondering
Sure.
if that's a shortcut we should be taking.
Well, quick update definitely has its place,
Okay.
but it's important to understand the trade-offs.
Right.
Imagine you're making a change directly in the code,
Okay.
bypassing all the parameterized query safeguards we just talked about.
Right.
That's essentially what quick update does.
That's
It's super efficient,
Right.
especially for small internal updates where you have complete control over the data.
But that also sounds like it could be wide open to SQL injection if you're not careful.
Precisely. The
Yeah.
source material makes it very clear that if you're using quick update with data that's coming from anywhere other than a completely trusted source, like a user-submitted form,
Yeah.
you're taking a big risk.
Also, it's like choosing between a bike messenger and a security van for your data. The messenger is faster,
Yeah.
but the van offers a lot more protection if you're carrying something valuable.
What an excellent analogy.
Thanks.
It highlights the balance between speed and security that developers often have to consider.
For sure.
Now, let's dive into those code snippets you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
You were curious about how it all works in practice.
Absolutely. I'm ready to see how the magic happens.
Okay.
Especially those dollar signs and question marks.
Yeah.
Those always make me a little nervous.
Don't worry.
Okay.
It's not as intimidating as it looks.
Okay.
Remember, we're separating our query from our data,
Right.
and PDO gives us a neat way to do that using something called bind param.
Okay. Bind param.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
Think of it like this.
Okay.
You've got your SQL query, which is like a sentence with some blanks to fill in.
Okay.
Bind param lets you tell the database, hey, this piece of data over here, that's going to fill in this blank, but treat it as plain, harmless data no matter what it looks like.
So it's like putting each piece of data in a protective bubble before sending it off to the database.
Exactly.
No chance of any rogue code causing trouble.
A fantastic way to put it.
It ensures that anything potentially malicious is disarmed before it can do any harm.
This is making a lot more sense now.
Good.
So bind param is like our security checkpoint,
Right.
making sure nothing sneaky gets into the database.
Yeah.
But how do we actually send that sanitized data over and make the update happen?
That's where execute comes in.
Okay.
Our command to fire off the query.
Right.
Once we've linked our data securely with bind param, execute sends the whole package to the database and says, go ahead, make it happen.
Okay.
It's like hitting the confirm button after you've double-checked that everything in your online order is correct.
Okay. Love that.
But even after hitting confirm, we sometimes double-check to see if the order went through, right?
Yeah.
What's the database equivalent of checking for that confirmation email?
Great question.
In PDO, we use row count.
Okay.
This handy function tells us how many rows in the database were affected by our update.
Right.
In this case,
Yeah.
we're only updating a single student's record, so we'd expect row count to return a value of 1.
Oh,
If we get anything else,
yeah.
that's a sign that something might be off.
So row count is our confirmation email letting us know that the update was successful.
Exactly.
We've covered bind param, execute, and row count, all essential for secure updates.
They are.
But we haven't circled back to quick update.
Sure.
It seems risky, but is it ever the right choice?
It can be in the right circumstances.
Okay.
Remember, quick update is like our bike messenger.
Yeah.
Risky for valuable packages,
Yeah.
but perhaps fine for something small and less important, especially if we trust the source.
Right.
The key takeaway is that it sacrifices security for speed.
Okay.
So you'd only use it when you're absolutely positive about the integrity of the data and the security of your environment.
So it's like taking a shortcut through a dark alley. You might save time, but there's a higher chance of something going wrong. Better to stick to well-lit, secure paths most of the time.
Precisely.
And that's what's so fascinating about this deep dive.
Right.
It's not just about learning the mechanics of updating a database.
Right.
It's about understanding the security implications behind every line of code and making informed decisions based on the specific needs of your application.
It's about weighing the trade-offs between speed and security and choosing the approach that best suits the situation.
Exactly.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to consider.
Good. I'm glad.
Big thanks to our expert for navigating these code waters with us,
Happy to help.
and to all you deep divers out there.
Until next time, happy coding.